Hey guys, welcome back. As you can see, I'm out in the forest, one of my favorite places as I'm continuing on my hike today. I was thinking about something. I was thinking about what's the difference between isolation and solitude. I'm a person who needs a lot of solitude. I tend to be more introverted, and I just found that I need time to process. I'm not an immediate processor. I need time to think things through. I need time to kind of ponder, and I need time to be alone. And obviously, I think that's part of my attachment style. But whatever, that's a whole other topic that we're not going to get into. But how do I know when I'm isolating versus needing solitude? To me, my experience has been when I'm isolating, I'm wanting disconnection. And when I'm in solitude, I'm wanting connection. But I'm wanting connection with myself. I'm not wanting to connect with other people. And I feel comfortable in solitude. It oftentimes feels safe for me. Isolation feels like I'm hiding. So that does not create a sense of safety. Hiding does not for me. Sometimes I think when we go through hard things, it's easy to want to isolate ourselves and call it solitude, and vice versa too, right? We call it solitude, but we're really isolating from people. But just when we're going through periods of transition and change, I think we need probably more solitude than at other points in our lives because we're trying to reintegrate. We're trying to make sense of all the things that have happened, that have changed in our lives, and create a new identity sometimes, create a new way of living, create a new way of thinking. And that takes introspection. I was listening to a podcast today and he was talking about something, but, he was saying, most people, the majority of people, in fact, don't do self-reflection, don't self-assess. And I found that odd. I would not know how to live if I did not do that. I think I've done that my whole life. And in the beginning of my life, it was because I was trying to make sense of things, and things just did not make sense to me. And I went on a quest and spent most of my adolescence and early adulthood trying to make sense of things that had happened in the past that didn't make sense. Sometimes I isolated in that, isolated in the pain of that, in the trauma of that, in just kind of the damage that some of that stuff did to me emotionally and mentally and spiritually, and physically as well. But trying to integrate, why did that happen? What am I supposed to be learning from this? He was also talking about how when you have a difficult childhood, how that prepares you to use your pain later on in life. And that's certainly been the case for me, right? I think regardless of what the intention and the motivation was, I've spent a lot of my life trying to understand the things that have happened, the purpose behind them, how I can use that to help other people. And that's part of why I wanted to do this YouTube thing, because if my experience can help somebody else, each one teach one. That's how I think about it. And we need connection as humans. We need that. We can't do all this in isolation, okay? But we do need solitude. Usually when I've isolated, I'm doing things that aren't good for me, and I don't want anybody else to know about it. That to me is isolation. Solitude is when I'm doing things that give me a sense of joy and passion, and I wouldn't be afraid for anybody else to know that. Like, look around where I am. I'm in solitude. I'm in the forest. There's nobody else here. I don't care who knows that, right? But if I was, sitting here doing something like shooting dope, I certainly don't want anybody walking up on me while I'm doing that. So, isolation, solitude. Yeah, that's all I got to say about that. I just wonder, how do you know the difference between isolation and solitude, and how does it show up in your life? Let me know. Because I'm curious. I don't think I'm the only one. Have there been benefits of isolating yourself? And generally, it's not just physically, at least in my experience. When we're isolating ourselves physically, we're also isolating from connection with other people. And again, sometimes we need that to heal. all right? But there comes a point where we cross that line, and isolation becomes a way of keeping us disconnected from other people. There's not a lot of positives sometimes from isolation. And no, everybody's different. Everybody has a different degree, a different amount. Some people can be perfectly happy in complete solitude. I don't think that would work for me, not completely, because I need other people in my life. And it took me a long time to believe that, because one of the characteristics of growing up in an addicted family system, or family impacted by other forms of dysfunction, um, is this lie of self-sufficiency. Right? I don't need anybody. Well, we learned that we can't count on people. That's not the same as I don't need anybody. Right? If I don't think that I can count on other people, I'm going to take the stance I have to do it myself. People are going to disappoint me. People are going to let me down. Yeah, people will do that. Okay? Because we're imperfect beings. But that doesn't mean that I can't trust people. I just have to be realistic in what my expectations are of other people. Sometimes I need solitude to figure that out. But isolating and pulling away, um, indefinitely, I don't think is a good solution. I don't think it's an emotionally healthy solution. Um, I've never lived in isolation for years at a time, so I don't know. Maybe I could get to a point where I was perfectly fine with that. I know that I do need more solitude than the average person. In my experience, it's certainly created problems for me in relationships where I've needed that solitude, and other people see that as somehow about them, and it's not, and their projections. Yeah, it's just a whole big thing. But I'm interested in hearing from you. What has it been like for you? How do you know the difference? And what do you do in isolation versus what you do in solitude? Let me know. Let's talk about it. Thanks. Talk to you soon.